Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Motorman Dan, and I have requested, or have been requested, to cover combos a little bit here. So let's just go ahead and jump into this setup. You're going to see the lasers are going to do a ×2 combo. Of course, you won't see that, but when we start getting involved, you might see 3s, 4s, and 5s, and we'll discuss why that is. There you saw some 3s and you saw a 5. Then you saw 2 things die with nothing. Also, take a look at the coin. For the ×3, we get 13, whereas the regular, we get 10. There we had a ×4. There's another ×5. A 3 and a 5. Okay, some 3s. All right, so let's take a moment to discuss why we saw the ×3, 4, and 5. And as you can see, it was just the 3 extra coin for each combo we got. So with the fire, it counts as its own 2. The reason fire counts as 2 is because when an enemy walks into one of them, they take fire damage, and then they get the burn effect, which is 7 damage a second for 4 seconds, and 20% slow. That's the burn effect. So when they get hit by the fire, if they immediately die while they hit with the fire without taking a point of burn, they're only going to drop a 1x combo, right? The combo calculator only goes up to 1. If they take a point of burn after the fire, then they get the second point for the ×2. Then if they take a source of damage that kills them, other than the fire and the burn, then they'll take a ×3. So with Egan, when we double slam, we have a potential of a ×3 combo with this double slam. We've got knockback, okay, or forcing an enemy to go airborne kind of thing. That's 1 combo point. We've got stun. That's another combo point. And we've got physical damage. So that's a 3 combo point double jump, which is why you saw a ×5. With this setup, the maximum we can get is a ×5. We got the fire, we got burn, we got stun, damage, and knockback. All of this combined gives us a ×5. Now, some of them died with a ×3 or a ×4 because whenever you take damage or you are affected by a source that would add up to a combo point, you would essentially have 2 seconds to kill them within that combo timer. So the first thing that happens is they take fire damage, and then they burn and they take fire damage, and then they burn and take fire damage if they're running through all 3 lasers. Every time they take the fire damage, that 2-second timer on fire damage resets, and then the burn resets, right? Because the fire applies the burn then resets, and then they're burned for another 4 seconds. Okay, so if they step in the back one and then walk around it, and then you kill them, that 2-second timer may be up, and you may not actually get that part of the combo in your actual killing. So you want to make sure whenever enemies run through your kill zone, if you're going for combos, that you kill them once everything has affected, shortly after everything has affected. One of the good ways to do that is to knock them back or send them back into a kill box and then use a trap reset trinket, and then everything triggers if you have everything in the same area. Another good way is to use items, to use whether it be traps or trinkets even, to do damage outside of the range of your kill zone. So you may have a wall trap dedicated, maybe 1 or 2 floor traps, 1 or 2 wall traps, and maybe a ceiling trap like these, or something else that's very close in range. And then you may have like a dart spitter outside of it to sprinkle in damage into your kill corridor. You may have a ballista, the snow cannon, that sort of thing. Anything shooting into the kill box as well to help those combo points rack up. Now, fire does not stack with fire. Burn does not stack with burn. It resets itself. So whenever you go to build a kill box for combos, you want all the different kinds of elements present in that kill box. So let's talk about some of those. So we've already got fire. Then we also have this thing called arcane. You can do arcane a couple of ways. My personal favorite way is, if I can make it happen, use the arcane dragon. But more often than not, I find myself using the arcane brimstone as that arcane source of damage, because an enemy will walk on top of it and up to 7 enemies will walk on top of it, and then they'll trigger the arcane and they'll get debuffed. So those 7 enemies then walk into the next portion of the kill box, and then they get hit with combos. Now, if they continue to live past the next portion of the kill box until they hit the next brimstone, then that'll reapply the brimstone with the initial damage and then the arcane debuff as well. So that's why I like using the arcane brimstone. Now, another element we have is the new element called acid. With acid, it debuffs the enemy's armor by 50%. When they step on top of the acid geyser, or any of the acid traps, as a matter of fact, they do 2 things. They do an initial source of damage, and then they do the melt effect. The melt effect is what causes them to take bonus damage. So when they step on and they take the damage from the acid geyser, it's acid damage, then they continue to move. They will then be under the effect of melt for a longer duration. For the combo score 2-second thing that we're talking about, they'll be affected by that for a longer duration. So the melt itself is not what's going to drop off. It's going to be the initial damage they take from the acid geyser first. Now, I think the acid geyser is the easiest and most efficient way to debuff enemies with acid, which is why I typically bring it instead of arcane brim, because the dragon in certain spots can be better than the arcane brim. But for the most part, you can even bring both if you really wanted to. So the acid geyser would be an example of a x2 combo. Let's talk about something else that people use a lot: the window of butterflies, and they use it with the arcane buff. The window of butterfly right now is a theoretical ×3, but a realistic ×2. What that means is it does the arcane damage, so enemies immune to arcane aren't going to take the damage. But it also causes confusion, or distraction, I should say, so they're going to walk backwards in the kill box. This is one of the ways to send enemies back. The potential ×3 is if they also had the arcane debuff, which the arcane, or the window of butterfly with the arcane upgrade appears to not do that currently. Whether that is by design or not is unclear. But yes, so theoretically this is a ×3 combo trap by itself. However, chances of it killing anything with the damage it does is very minuscule. Let's talk about another ×3 combo trap. And it's everyone's favorite, the swinging mace. If you have a swinging mace of fire, the swinging mace itself can do a ×3 combo. It does a ×3 combo because it gets a knockback, and it actually knocks back all types of enemies, regardless of weight. Just the distance they knock back is different based upon their weight. It does a knockback, but it also does fire, and it also does burn. So by itself, it's a ×3 combo multiplier. However, unless it gets buffed, it's probably not better than using a ceiling laser with fire instead, or some other fire trap. I personally, my floor trap setup uses a floor scorcher, and I'll place it facing either into or away from the entrance. That's how I'll do that. I don't use it for the flip. The flip, most of the time, is not going to burn whatever stands on top. So the flip itself probably isn't going to be super effective, and it doesn't do anything to the big guys. If an enemy stands anywhere but the very edge of it, when they get flipped, they're not going to take the fire burn damage. So you want enemies to be running into it more often than running away from it, because then it'll just send enemies backwards and through your kill box. Speeding them through your kill box is not a bad idea if you have traps and stuff laid out. So then I would typically run something like, you could do 4 different floor traps here. Could do something like this, where they would step on the arcane, they get arcane debuff, right? Then they step on the acid geyser and they get acid debuff. Then they step on the brimstone, and before all of that, as they step on the arcane brim, I meant tar. As they step on the arcane brim, they get burned by the fire. So now they're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least a 7 times combo. And that's not including any wall or ceiling traps that you're going to bring with you to kill them. Okay. Let's go ahead and give an example a real life example, and this is one of the things I really like to do here. We're going to use this map, but we're going to switch a couple of things around before we show something off. And it's going to be with stun and some other stuff that we're going to use. So we're going to take this guy, and this is something that you can do yourself, of course, to test stuff out. So we're going to push him over here. We're going to place our lift, place our acid, and skadoosh. You saw that times 7, right? We've got the right mouse button, the crossbow stun. We've got the right mouse button for freeze. We've got the stone, which is 3. We've got the acid, which is 4 and 5. You have the damage and then the melt. You have the airborne, which is 6. And then you've got the blades, which is 7. So all of that together gives us a times 7 combo that you saw. Let's go ahead and add something else to it, though. All right, now we're adding the Jar of Ghosts. See if we can get a times 8 multiplier here in the same exact setup that we've got. Now we're going to try and use medium orc to make sure that we're able to not kill the orc before it actually needs to trigger. So let's head on over here. There we go. There we go. There's our times 8. So as you can see, we got a times 7 earlier, but now when we add the Jar of Ghosts, we have a times 8 because it adds fear. And it's within that 2-second kill timer. Now there's one more thing to test, and that last thing is to see if combos stick around more than 2 seconds. This is going to be a pretty tough one to test. But hopefully we can make this happen. And of course, I'll cut out my failures until we get a success, because in the older games, Airborne suspended the 2-second timer. We're going to test to see if that's the case, and I have an idea on how to do that. So let's just jump into the successful trial, or if we fail a bunch, then you'll know it's not a thing anymore. So the first thing we're going to try is to put this orc and have him take acid damage. It looks like he didn't actually take any acid damage. So we're going to pop this. We're going to have him go step on it, take the acid. He took the debuff. We're just going to hold him here for a second. It's definitely been more than 5 seconds. And then we're going to shoot him. And you see that we did not get the combo. Right? We should have gotten a times 2 combo. Damage, acid. We saw both of those apply. And shooting him, we should have gotten an extra combo from him being airborne and from us shooting him. But he didn't actually take a times 3 combo. Now we're going to try the same thing with the gravity pillar. See if that makes any kind of a difference. As you can see there, what we did was we froze and stoned, which should give him a times 2 multiplier, and then we shot him while he was in the air. And that should be a times 3 plus the airborne times 4. Now, if airborne did actually suspend the combo timer, then when he fell back down and we shot him, as soon as he landed, we should have been able to get a times 4 combo. Possibly even a times 5. I don't know if fall damage is considered part of a combo multiplier or not. I don't think it is, but anyways, so yeah, I can with a fair amount of certainty say that airborne does not suspend that combo timer. So you only have 2 seconds to actually apply the killing blow after enough combos have been met. I can say that with a fair amount of certainty. Now, if you run tests of your own, or if you found that is not true, please let me know in the comments below, because I am curious to see if you guys know of any other way to suspend that 2-second timer, because that's pretty short. But there's a lot of ways to do combos. We've covered basically all of them. Any kind of status effect that you can have, as long as they're different, you know, and anything that does both, you know, some sort of elemental damage with some sort of lingering effect. I mean, those are always good. One of the other ways that you could look at getting combos is if you're using Tar. Even though Tar only gives you a ×1 combo, no matter what upgrade you get with it, you can group up enemies on it like I had mentioned earlier and kill them on it. You could remove Tar and use something else. If you wanted Arcane debuff and you wanted to use the floor spikes for that, I don't know why you would, but you could do that as well. And lastly, if you do want to use Tar, a thing that could do is not upgrade the slow, the level upgrades. Just skip the level upgrades, and it'll still reduce them by a percentage, which is nice. But that allows them to run through your kill box faster, generating theoretically more combos. It is worse for surviving late game endless, but it is possible. Now, I myself happened to lane an ×18 combo. What day was that? The 7th or the 8th? I think it was it was on the 7th. I did a live stream and happened to hit an ×18 combo. And let me go ahead and pull up how we theorized that was done exactly, because I think 18 combos is realistically probably the highest that you're going to get solo. Let me go ahead and bring something up here. When you run electric, whatever dies doesn't get the extra combo point, but whatever's around it, since they took the explosion damage, they get the extra combo point because they took the damage. Whereas whatever died only takes the lightning damage, so they only get the ×1. So that's the way that electricity works. And it's a small area of effect, so it can affect multiple units at the same time. But fire is more consistent. It's more consistent combos. That's what I was looking for earlier. With that being said, I ran electric lasers because you can have more of them, right? So, you know, it could help. So whatever I killed to give me the 18 took damage from something else dying to while being under the effect of being electrified. Then I had the arcane window. We talked about that earlier. It's a ×2, one for damage over time and the other one for distraction. I had Tar with no level upgrades with an extra slow, which is a ×1. We had Egan with his double jump. We talked about that earlier. I had the blood blades, or some people call them the saw blade launchers. They are physical and bleed. Bleed is a form of physical damage, but it's done over time. If you have another trap that also does bleed, then you're going to limit your amount of combos. Bleed does not stack, it just replaces. So you're going to replace it with whatever. Now, I don't know if it's replacing it with the last thing that did bleed, because bleed, unlike burn, is dependent upon the trap as to how much damage it actually does. Whereas burn, no matter what applies to burn, it always takes 7 damage per second for 4 seconds and 20% slow. So whatever the bleed is, it is. But yeah, so I had the physical, and then I had bleed, which is a ×2. I had the acid goozer, which is another ×2. We talked about that earlier. I had the arcane dragon, which I presume to be ×2 for A, the damage, and and B, the debuff. We had ice darts, which is damage and freeze. And we had scorcher, which is fire and burn. I had no other fire up here, so I have lightning, arcane or acid, arcane, ice, and fire. I had my 5 elements. On top of that, I had my physical and bleed. I had stun, knockback, and damage from Egan. I had distraction and arcane damage over time, which the damage from the trap itself is unique, but the distraction itself is what would be reset if you had something else with distraction, or the damage from the same trap happening again does not give you an extra point either. And then the tar for the slow. And I theorized, without kids or reset trinket, you might be able to do ×20 with jar ghosts, flowers, which is assuming that fear, confusion, distract are all different combo, which I have a feeling like it is. But to get this to happen, it's very slim. To have all of that all happening to the same mob, it's going to be very hard to get a ×20 combo. And then we looked at acid geysers ×3 potential. Not sure how. It only does 2. And butterflies would be if they apply the arcane debuff. That is true. And then The Stone Staff knockup is a possibility if you get the other upgrade for it. However, that's not going to combo with Egan's knockup at all. So if you use Egan's double jump, then the Stone Staff knockup isn't going to add to it. So it really depends. So the Stone Staff is not going to add an extra one unless you're not using Egan's double jump, in which case then you're taking this total 18 down. So you can take it down to a 17 by not using the double jump, and get stunned from somewhere else, and that'll take this up to a +2 for the Stone Staff. Otherwise, it's not useful. It does add one combo to stone, so adding Stone Staff just gives you a +1 here. Scepter of Domination does give you a +3, but again, it has a knockback. So the knockback on Scepter of Domination should not, in theory, stack with the knockback from Egan's double jump or the Stone Staff secondary upgrade. It should not combo with those, but it will be its own version of airborne or knockback. And the flower, yes, the flower would just be a confusion. The Scepter of Domination will apply the arcane debuff, so if you don't take the arcane dragon, you can do the arcane debuff. By itself, it can give you a +3. And then, of course, it does arcane damage, its own source of damage. Everything that is its own source of damage gives you at least one combo point. And the Spike Wall is something else that is a ×3 by itself. It does knockback, it does bleed or stun, and it does physical damage. He said you got a ×5 with the Scepter of Domination alone. Oh, yeah, because you can mind control them as well after they've taken the explosion. Right. So yeah, so you can get a ×5. But yes, it's very hard to set that up. That's just one ability. But that means that you're not going to be able to do knockback from anything else to add to it. The arcane debuff doesn't come in from anything else either. So these two are then locked. And then the only other thing that you can do is other primary sources of damage. Nothing else in the game does mind control, so you don't have to worry about that. But the arcane debuff and knockback are locked into this weapon if you're going to use that for those two combo points. So we had a little bit of a discussion about that, and I encourage you to find the best combo setup that you can, and let me know what it is in the comments. Feel free to come over to this Discord. The link is in the description below this video. There's two links. There's the community ran one, which is this one most people use, and of course there's a robot one that I think Robot did or something. I don't know. I found out about this one like last week. Just saying something. I played this game for a long time. But yeah, so I would encourage you to come in here and let us know what you think the best combos or what combos that you have found to be really good for your endless runs or whatever. And I will say that going endless is probably the easiest way to get those combos, probably around the wave of 50 or so, just because the heavy orcs and the medium orcs, they become tanky enough to where they can take damage from everything and you can still knock them up. Ogre pluses are hard to like move around, so they're harder to get combos on. But if you can get like a heavy orc or a medium orc to take all of this, that's how you're going to get your 18, possible 20. But you got to be able to last long enough to get to that point. So, you know, the more combos you go for, I think the riskier it becomes at a certain point. But give it a try. You know, let me know what it is that you've tried out with the combos, and I hope this has been helpful to you all. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and follow on Twitch. I stream on both YouTube and Twitch whenever I stream. And yeah, like I said, this was requested of me for a while now, and I hope it helps. It at least helps you theorize, or higher combos you have, the higher score you're going to have exponentially. You want to run probably average amount of combos you want to be receiving is somewhere between 7 and 9. So if you're not seeing mostly 7 and 9s, you're going to want to like change your kill box up to where you can get up to where you're seeing 7s and 9s. And then you need to get involved to make those 7s and 9s turns into like 13 to 15s, and possibly 18s from time to time. So yeah, with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.